Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleReign, the AI-first system of intelligence for IT and HR employee service. We help employees love work by making the process of getting IT and HR help delightful. It's all we do. It's our passion. It's our life's work. We've invested centuries of person hours developing the best technology on the market. It's used by the most sophisticated organizations around the world. Now, about 2 years ago, we embarked on a journey to learn from the best. We've since interviewed about 250 CIOs about how they use virtual agents to deliver better IT and HR employee service. We were inspired by their ideas, and we've incorporated many of them into our products. For the first time, we're sharing their feedback with you. Just for attending today's webcast, you'll receive a free copy of the full research report. We'll focus today not just on those actionable tips, those top 5, but also on how AI is used across the service health lifecycle. I'll share how organizations like yours use intelligent automation to reduce call volume by 65%, cost per ticket by 90%, and mean time to resolve issues by 45%. I'm proud to be co-hosting today's event with our partner, Thirdera, the largest pure-play provider of ServiceNow professional services. We're lucky to be joined by Damon, Thirdera Chief Operating Officer, who will share the Thirdera vision for the future of work. Thirdera is authorized to sell and support the full suite of PeopleReign products. After we meet Chris, I'll present that list of the top 5 tips, and I'll weave around it a product demo so that you can get a sense of how these tips are operationalized in the real world. I will be sure to leave time at the end for any questions you have. Please use the chat panel to ask us anything that we don't address. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Damon. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll jump in.
All right. Good day, everyone. And first, I want to thank Dan for this opportunity to be on the webinar today. And I want to thank all of you for taking time to join us today. I'm Damon. I'm at Thirdera. I lead our global sales and offerings organization. And I have been working in and around corners of IT and service management for, if I add it up, it's around 23 years or so now. So, but it was in 2009 that was pivotal for me. It was when I was leading a program implementing ServiceNow of all platforms globally at GE. I was working in their global research division. It was then that I knew that I wanted to do what I had done at GE for the rest of my career. And I was already in love with the platform and the outstanding results we achieved at GE. I wanted to bring to other organizations. In 2011, I actually joined the partner that helped me with my implementation. And I left GE and entered into the partner space. So a decade later, I'm still here, and words can't describe how happy I am to be here at Thirdera. I think we got something special here, and we have an incredible team that we've put together. And a few short months, 8 months or so into the Thirdera story, we are already doing some amazing things. But I want to switch a little bit. So one of my favorite quotes is from Henry Ford. And it's been on my LinkedIn page as long as I can remember. And it says, he said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Can you even imagine that? At the time of horses, some guy's rolling around trying to convince you to buy an automobile. You would have been like, yeah, all right, buddy. You would have thrown a leg over your horse. You would have gotten out of town, right? It just was so innovative at the time. People couldn't even grasp it conceptually. So I've always challenged people to forget about the faster horse and think about ways to do work differently. So how about today? One of the things that will probably come up today, I think it's in something Dan will highlight, is around first call resolution. So let's do an example here. If I had asked people today, how do you want to improve your first call resolution, your FCR? What do you think they would say? They would say things like a better service management platform. I need that. I need more staff. I need better staff. I need better information. In fact, I need quicker access to information. Or is it all of the above? And that's probably what it is. So today I'm here to say that, that automobile type answer to the question is something different and something that you may not have considered, or maybe you've considered that automobile, to try to do something other than a faster horse. And maybe it's met with an eye roll or disbelief that you can do it. And I'm here to tell you that you can. It's virtual agent, it's automation, it's AI, it's those things that will help solve your business issues in a different way instead of trying to do it over and over again, where you might get some small improvements to FCR, but it will not create the impactful change you're looking for, or change that generates immense value and changes how work gets done in your organization. Thirdera is a next level partner. We are challenging that conventional thinking. We are delivering inventive solutions. We're finding those intersections in ServiceNow where products meet the industry verticals and solve real business issues for your exact organization. And we're partnering with companies that share in that vision to drive more value from our clients, which is why we're here today, or I'm here today with Dan and the good folks over at PeopleReign. So again, I thank you for your time, and I will ask, Dan's already on the slide. So here we go. So one thing that's interesting about this is this report was published about a month after Thirdera was formed or announced, and we missed the opportunity to be in a formal report with the Everest Group here, but they did a separate analysis of 115 partners in the ecosystem. And they did it based on public information or other sources of information that they could get. And they already put us over in a leader column. So, I mean, that was the ultimate compliment on this type of analysis that Everest Group had done. And it was so early on that if you look in the high potential category, the second icon from the bottom is SLS, Service Line Solutions. They are now part of the Thirdera family. They're an Australian-based company delivering services in APAC, and they're part of Thirdera now. So a lot has changed. Back then, we were 200 some odd resources. We're now 450, and a lot has changed in terms of the inside of Thirdera and what we've done to improve all aspects of our business to continue to drive value for our customers. So one of the things that, we see continually, being in this space as long as I have, and this leadership team and a lot of our staff, and, again, centuries of experience, as Dan mentioned, we see a lot of different challenges that we encounter. The first of which, I'll start on the left side and move to the right, getting the most out of ServiceNow licensing. I remember at a Knowledge, I asked a question that was, do you ever feel you're not getting enough value out of ServiceNow? And almost everybody said, yes, I could get more out of it. And we know that, that licensing model is changing, but let us help you. We know that those are changing. We know that you have things that are shelfware that you might have a SKU for, and maybe you don't know how to implement it, or partners that you've worked with don't know how to implement it, but we do. We have great breadth and depth across the entire platform. And we have a number of advisory services that we can work with you to develop that roadmap to help you get more out of the platform. The second, I call it the thinning of capabilities in the partner ecosystem. What I mean by that is, as the number of products in the areas that ServiceNow provides solutions for grow, the capability, certain partners in that ecosystem can't expand to keep pace with it, and we do. So we have dedicated teams, our practices and business units that specialize in these different product areas. Over on the right, people that have been on the platform for long enough, they know that they want to do industry specific at this point. We've done, your table stakes implementation, ITSM, ITAM, ITOM. Now we need something that's going to help push ServiceNow to help drive value for the business. And we definitely do that. We have experienced a number of different industry areas, whether it be banking and insurance or healthcare, medical devices, pharma. We do quite a bit of work in government. Telco is something that we're now doing, but people are wanting more. So let us work with you to help drive those industry solutions for your organization. Then the last of which is inadequate partners in the growing ecosystem. And I don't mean inadequate in terms of what they might deliver, but inadequate in their ability to have that holistic view of the platform and drive more value. They might be small, they might be singular in expertise, it might be a one and done type implementation, and maybe they just don't have the breadth and depth to go across all four workflows and the numerous products within. But let us help you. We can guide you through it. Again, we have advisory services. We have principal consultants that are management level consultants. We have highly experienced team members that will work with you to develop that roadmap and a tactical plan to implement and get more value from the platform. It's worth noting too, that from our experience, we have 5 CMAs, Certified Master Architects, and 1 CTA, which is Certified Technical Architect. And the CTA is a different game. It's CMAs are super smart people that we have on staff. CTAs go a little bit deeper into the technology. Either way, those 6 resources we have here at Thirdera, and I believe at last count, there were 100 or less CMAs on the planet. So we have 5 of them, and plus a CTA. So we feel really good about that. And through our services, you get access to people like that can help you drive more value as well. So why are we different? What makes Thirdera the partner that you should work with? It really starts with that thought leadership and advisory capabilities, which a lot of organizations, a lot of partners in the space don't have those capabilities. We do, as I just mentioned. And we also consider that 360-degree view of your business. We're looking at upstream, downstream, we're looking around all your business units, and we're going to help you formulate a plan to get value around your organization. And we're going to bring the right people to the table to help drive that, whether it be for the planning side or the actual execution side. We have comprehensive expertise across the 4 ServiceNow workflows. So IT, employee, customer, creator. In fact, we have all 4 of those workflow badges. And I was told that we are the first partner, and there's 1,500 partners in the ecosystem to achieve all 4 of those workflow badges. And we're really proud of that. And then, of course, all the numerous products within each of those workflow areas, we have expertise as well. We are both product and industry focused. I mentioned that intersection. I think I used my fingers to try and show that kind of like the horizontal meets the vertical. But we have expertise in those areas, and we will meet you where your challenges exist. We're not going to come in with some roadmap and that always puts you on the same point that says start. This is where you're going to start. We're going to meet you where that pain, where that business challenge is, where the value is. And then we're going to solve that together. And I think that's a unique perspective that we bring to an engagement. We're not just some canned advisory, basic blueprint roadmap organization, and we start in the same spot. We're going to meet you where the problem is. We have an ever-growing global presence, and that's really important for not only our capabilities, but also it allows us to have some flexibility with our global delivery teams. And just the every time we expand the company, we're picking up greater and greater capabilities. And then innovators. And I'm going to use one more quote. If you want something new, you have to stop doing something old. And I find myself in situations with clients where we're challenging people just constantly going back to that old way of doing it. I mentioned first call resolution. I bet people have tried to improve their knowledge base numerous times with the same result, incremental improvement. They may have added more staff. Maybe they tried to do something with virtual agents, but they didn't do it in a way that was a sustaining, a lasting value. So people keep trying this over and over again. So I'm going to challenge you to work with Thirdera, work with PeopleReign, and try something new in your organization. So let us work with you. Let us help you with your strategy. Let us drive organizational change and design aspects and help drive adoption for your organization. Let us bring unique experiences and journeys to your workers and drive innovation. No more faster horses. We're done with that. And this is exactly what we partnered with Dan and his team and the amazing people over at PeopleReign. Having your team work smarter, not harder, is going to enable more time better spent on higher value tasks, specifically within IT and HR virtual agent, as well as with workflow and automation, and of course, AI. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dan, and I will thank you all again in advance for your time on the rest of this webinar. And Dan, take it away.
Chris, thanks for joining. Great backgrounder. I will say that we evaluated all of the leading ServiceNow partners. We obviously have expertise in IT service management and enterprise service management, and it wasn't even a close second when it came to the right go-to-market partner for us. We launched this partnership actually on a webcast with Jason Willian, who's the CEO of Thirdera, a few months back. Some of you might have been a part of that and have just been amazed by the progress that we've made as a partnership. And really the beneficiaries are you, everyone who's looking to escalate up the service management maturity curve faster. Couldn't ask for a better partner in Chris and Jason and the extended Thirdera team. So you're here because you are an expert in the domain of service management. We are experts in the domain of automating service management. And the thing that I want to do up front is establish some common vocabulary. So what it means to apply what we refer to as a system of intelligence horizontally across the life cycle of an employee service request means that you're actually doing the things that you've always done, only you're doing them much more efficiently. So we talk about metrics, Chris mentioned them, I mentioned about front, things like being able to reduce your cost per ticket 90%. On average, a statistic we're all aware of, this is from the Help Desk Institute, every time the phone rings, it's about $22 to $25. You wrap a layer of intelligence horizontally, you automate the process of resolving that issue, and that $22 to $25 drops to more like $3 to $5. This is an opportunity like nothing we've seen in this space. I know personally, I've been in and around this space for 25 years. And in a good year, we might be celebrating wins of 4 to 6% productivity improvements. We're now talking about 90% cost reduction due to automation, due to artificial intelligence, due to machine learning. So when we think about the life cycle of the employee service request, I'll give you some examples of how specifically AI is used to automate common processes. So starting with the request management process. So not surprisingly, we can now deploy virtual agents like what we're going to talk about today, to use natural language processing to diagnose and most often resolve the employee's issue autonomously without any need to escalate to a live agent. In situations where the request is not common, we look at the diagnostics phase. And one of the tips that I'll talk about is how do you use AI and machine learning to make the human smarter? Two of the applications that we're going to talk about today, PeopleReign Classify and PeopleReign Recommend, specifically take even your most novice agent on the service desk and essentially make them an expert. They reduce the time to train. They tell the live agent what's the next best action. Then we talk about orchestration. So AI and machine learning are great ways to figure out what's the right action to take. So add the user to the distribution list, reset the password, provide access to an application, order a laptop. These are all common kinds of requests that require some kind of orchestration workflows, and AI is really good at figuring out what's the right orchestration task to take. And lastly, of course, the learning component. So we think about traditional knowledge management, but imagine what would happen if instead of the traditional process of having to guess about what users might want to know, what if you could use AI and machine learning to automate the process of offering better content? And what if you could use advanced technologies to figure out where are the gaps, what questions are being asked that don't have an adequate answer, and then being able to update the content in real time to provide better answers the first time. You could imagine how that's an experience that delights your end users. It's not just about cost reduction. It's not just about call volume reduction. It's not even just about mean time to resolve reduction. It's about taking these autonomous technologies and actually making the support experience better than it was before. It's a more attractive alternative, which is going to lead to higher adoption. That's one of the tips that we'll talk about in a bit. Now I want to talk about what we did to compile these results. So it was a rigorous process. I mentioned over 2 years, talked to over 250 CIOs. We amassed a data repository of over 120 tips. We distilled those down into the top 5, which we're going to go through today. Just in terms of the demographics, the majority of the CIOs or CXOs that we talked to were from North America. Most represented organizations that were at least 10,000 employees. Presumably that reflects a lot of the demographics of today's audience. And here's what they told us. So the grand unveiling, I told you we've spent a lot of time. I'm really proud of our team for the work they've done. Without further ado, the top 5. So the number one tip that we heard come up time and again is from customers who recognize that chatbot, not really sufficient. A system of intelligence is really the way they were thinking about delivering better employee experiences via IT and HR. Now, what I'm going to do is share a quote from an actual CIO or CXO who we interviewed, and then I'll go ahead and show you a short demo associated with each one, so you get a sense of kind of what was going through their mind. This gentleman is Larry. He shared it was a memorable conversation. This is one of our early ones. Chatbots are for when the CIO wants to look good. For us, the novelty wore off and we were stuck with a piece of technology nobody used. That's when we discovered the difference between chatbots and systems of intelligence. Now, think critically about what Larry's saying here. Oftentimes a chatbot is something that in employee service domains generates the same kind of confusion and frustration that you and I have when we call our airlines or our credit card company and don't necessarily get the best answer. The chatbots for internal employee service leave the employee typically feeling pretty flat. But what if there were an opportunity to take not just the flat chatbot experience, but make it intelligent? So the virtual agent needs to know what it doesn't know. And when it runs into something that it doesn't know, it needs to escalate to a live agent in real time. So that seamless handoff from virtual agent to live agent is really important. And the employee never needs to feel like they're getting penalized for starting with the virtual agent. So a system of intelligence looks at the whole cycle of resolving the issue, not just the kind of narrow kind of parlor trick capabilities of a traditional virtual agent. Here I have the PeopleReign administration console. You see it's divided into 3 sections. You've got insights, you've got the workbench, the data science workbench, and then you have a way to administer the platform. This is a system of intelligence. It goes far beyond just a chatty bot. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So right now we're actually looking at a dashboard of metrics related to the virtual agent's performance. I'm going to go ahead and click into the workbench. So one of the key elements of a system of intelligence that it needs to automate the full life cycle of a machine learning model. So it needs to operate within the confines of a data pipeline. And that data pipeline is continuously being fed new data. And that new data goes into making better decisions continuously. So when we talk about intelligent automation, it's beyond just a scripted chatbot. So like Larry said in that quote, this was what he was expecting, and this was what really benefited the organization. So here we see a number of tasks. So these are all AI tasks. We see classify tasks. We see recommend tasks. We can go into here and we can look at all the components of a virtual agent. So for example, we can look at a list of everything that's been asked, and we can look at all of the automated replies. So this is all happening automatically in real time. The ability of the system of intelligence to target the right answers to the right questions is happening in real time. As an administrator, I can come in here and review all of the utterances and all of the PeopleReign replies. I can go ahead and do things like define named entities. So if I want to develop a better ability to understand the natural language being used, but in the context of company acronyms or policies or geographical restrictions, all that's going to be automated by the system of intelligence. So first, use the virtual agent, but if the virtual agent's not sufficient, escalate to a live agent. That's what we're looking at here, is the ability of the system of intelligence to wrap a layer of automation around the whole process. So here we're going to take a look at some ability to train the models. This all happens automatically, but this is kind of the cockpit view of the system of intelligence. I look at general tasks. So this is the suite of tasks. These are all the things that are happening automatically. This is what's doing things like figuring out what's the right assignment group for a particular issue, what's the right content to recommend to a live agent. That's what happens in these individual tasks. So again, a system of intelligence goes far beyond the capabilities of a chatbot. I'm going to show you some other examples. There are 4 PeopleReign applications. There's the virtual agent. There's classify to create and route requests. There's recommend to tell the live agent the next best action. And then there's insights, which I showed you here. Insights is the predictive analytics dashboard. 3 personas, 4 applications, 3 personas, the employee using the virtual agent, the live agent using classify and recommend, and the service owner using insights. That's what the system of intelligence does. This comes from Anna. So that's actually Anna. There's so much information trapped in historical data. It's essential that we unlock it to help service desk agents fix more problems faster the first time. Anna's organization really needed a way to augment the capabilities of live agents. They had this problem of high turnover in the call center. This actually reflects a lot of the feedback that we got. We kind of aggregated this into one tip, but it was probably shared by probably a third of the respondents. So make live agents smarter. What does that look like operationally? Well, I will show you. This is actually a ServiceNow ticket, only it's infused with intelligence. So this is an intelligent version of a ticket, thanks to PeopleReign. Like you heard Chris talking about ways to augment the traditional capabilities of a system of record like ServiceNow. This is an example of 3 different applications from PeopleReign embedded to make this experience using a traditional system of record, a traditional ticket, much smarter. So I'll point out a few things. In this case, PeopleReign, you see, is monitoring certain fields in the ticket for accuracy, for integrity and accuracy. In this case, we see user said, I need to update McAfee antivirus on my Mac. The live agent assigned that to a subcategory called open close. PeopleReign pops open a modal. This is actually with 97% confidence, this is probably best assigned to the subcategory called antivirus. It now agrees. So you can't screw it up anymore. Now, tickets don't languish in the wrong queue. They're going to get to the right place the first time automatically. Remember, as this model gets fed more data, its accuracy improves continuously. That's what a system of intelligence does. So 2 other applications embedded here in this ticket. You see concepts. So this is from a PeopleReign domain ontology, which consists of about 5 million concepts and concept relationships related to IT and HR service delivery. It's the smartest service desk agent on the planet. and it comes included with the PeopleReign system of intelligence. So in this case, it extracts from this interaction that the top level ontological concepts related to this request are McAfee antivirus, it's a software update, it's related to a Mac, 5 million of those. So it's going to get really accurate, really, really specific about the nature of this issue. Obviously, that can be used in a variety of ways related to workflow and analytics as well. Lastly, in this version of the service ticket, this intelligent version, PeopleReign recommend is embedded, and this shows for this particular request a series of documents from a knowledge graph, not just from one system of record, but it spans systems of record. So maybe it's content from SharePoint or from a wiki or from GRC, from policy documents. Maybe it's historical tickets, chat transcripts, structured knowledge. It's going to go ahead and embed the solution right in the context of the ticket. No research needed. Again, take that novice, make them an expert, right? In this case, I see with a high degree of confidence, PeopleReign says, here's probably the article that's going to solve the issue. This is internal facing knowledge content, how to prepare for a macOS upgrade, running McAfee. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. I'm going to go ahead and peruse that. I'm going to click the digital pin to say, yep, that fixed my problem, or that fixed the end user's problem, and off I go. That's a smart experience, right? And that's what Anna was referring to when she said, first focus on making the live agent smarter. Tip number 3, this comes from Joseph. Again, kind of an amalgamation of Joseph's, but this is one quote that we thought was particularly revealing. What we like most about our system of intelligence is it gets smarter all the time. Last week, when users were asking about the new iPhone, it didn't know how to answer basic questions because they were new. This is actually referring to last year's iPhone, not the one that was released yesterday. Now it's smarter than the folks at the Genius Bar. We like that as a compliment. We think that PeopleReign is in fact smarter than even the agents at the Genius Bar. And the way we summarize that tip, make sure the automation system improves continuously. I want to show you a little bit about how that works operationally, and I'm going to show you the virtual agent. Now, the virtual agent is capable of understanding natural language, and it can be embedded in the collaboration tool of your choosing. It speaks if you choose a voice-first interface. It can be embedded in an email interface, SMS. In this case, I'll show you a couple interfaces. Here's an integration with Microsoft Teams. It's available for Slack. It's available in a ServiceNow service portal. And anything that I would pick up the phone and call a live agent about, I can now ask the virtual agent. And the beautiful thing about a system of intelligence, not just a chatbot, is it knows what it doesn't know. So it's going to show you a couple examples that are kind of related to that tip, that continuous learning capability of the system of intelligence that goes far beyond what a chatbot can do. So I'll give you a couple examples. Here's one that the question was asked, when will my office reopen? And it came back with the correct answer. We're reopening one office every 2 weeks. It knows who I am. It knows where I am. It understands context. I'll go through a couple of other examples. Let's see, maybe top of mind might be something like that. Maybe I'm still stranded at home thanks to Delta. And I want to just get a sense of, quick question, should be a quick answer. And in this case, it's something that the virtual agent understood. But like in the quote, this may not be something that was understood a week ago. So there's continuous learning happening as these patterns are understood, as the patterns of speech are used to introspect the content's continuously improving, the answers are getting better. This is an intelligent experience. So effective last July, here's our policy for working from home, but it goes beyond that. There are other smart solutions built into the virtual agent. I'll give you an example. I mentioned sometimes it doesn't get it right because an employee asks a non-common question. So, let's say an employee just doesn't realize this is only for IT and HR and, wants to know, where's the best pizza in Albany? Not a great question to ask an IT and HR virtual agent, but that's an homage to my friend Chris, who's in Albany. So chances are this is not something the virtual agent knows, but unlike a traditional chatbot, it knows what it doesn't know. And it's going to come in and say, sorry, I can't help with that. Do you want to create a ticket? Here's a list of common options. That's a powerful feature. So nobody's worse off. Nobody gets penalized. I can ask it things about my open tickets. It knows who I am. So status of my tickets. And it knows who I am. It knows what tickets I recently submitted. So it's going to come back and give me a list. So this saves a bunch of time and a bunch of tickets just to be able to interact with my queue and understand the next step and status and things like that. Bunch of smart features built in. And that's the benefit of a system of intelligence that's continuously learning. So that's something you would never get from a system of record. Systems of record, often, most of them these days will have a chatbot, but they won't have a system of intelligence. So you want to make sure that as new data gets generated, it's going into improving the employee's experience. So this is from Sanjay, who said, our chatbot only spoke English. That just created a frustrating experience for non-English speaking team members. It felt like a step backward. We get that all the time. When we talk about investing in the employee experience, what we're really talking about is meeting the employee in their geography, in the context of their work, making work better for them, delivering a delightful experience. And that really starts with speaking their language. Organizations more than ever are not just remote, but they're remote and global. And so a capability like being able to auto-detect the language of the native language of the speaker, and then in real time, automatically translate the underlying content, which often was authored in English, but needs to be delivered in another language. That's a system of intelligence capability. It's something you obviously wouldn't get from a chatbot. So the way we distill the tip down is make sure your virtual agent speaks all the languages of your employees. Let's see. So I'm going to change interfaces. So this is a service portal, traditional web-based service portal. I'm going to bring up the ServiceNow virtual agent, the PeopleReign virtual agent embedded as a ServiceNow service portal widget. And I'm going to ask the same question a few different ways. In this case, it detects that the logged in user's native language is English, so it shows me the American flag. So I'm going to do a password reset, and that's obviously a very common one. So it's going to come back with an answer. In this case, it actually invoked Okta. We use Okta for SSO. This is my real phone, and this is the real email I just got. To reset my Okta password. I don't know if you can see that there, but so in real time, it's going to facilitate a reset and unlock. I mentioned earlier, it's going to take the orchestration action, so actually facilitate the end-to-end resolution of this request. But now, interestingly, this virtual agent has been trained to speak 27 languages. So everything from Japanese to Turkish to German, Italian, French, etc. And let's see what happens. So I happen to have Google Translate here, and I took that same utterance. How do I reset my password? I'm not a native German speaker. Thankfully, Google is. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that to the clipboard, the translation of that. And I'm going to go into the virtual agent. And so it knows my native language is English, but let's see what happens when I ask the same question, only ask in German this time. It's going to now detect that my language changed. So now I'm emulating a user whose native language is German. It switches the flag. It translates the same content. So now I'm able to do the same thing, only that's a great experience. So I no longer have to feel like I'm a second-class citizen because I don't speak English. Now, wherever I am, whatever language I speak, it's supported. That's a system of intelligence. So again, something that you would never get from a system of record, you'd never get from a traditional chatbot. This is not a parlor trick. This is really about reducing call volume, autonomous call deflection, and improving the employee experience. So last but certainly not least, so the CIO says we saw a 20% increase in self-service adoption the month after we announced the employees who saved the most time using the virtual agent at the all hands. I think this tip reveals the most. And interestingly, it's not associated with a single feature of a system of intelligence, although I will show you a leaderboard approach. What this says is cultural adoption of automation solutions is as important as technological adoption. And this is Samantha who provided this quote, but again, representative of a large amount of feedback that we received. Cultural adoption means when you introduce a new support channel to your employee base, you need to take into account the fact that there will naturally be some reluctance to, say, shift from phone and email to something like a virtual agent. The best way to get the most value out of a system of intelligence is to onboard the capabilities incrementally. And so oftentimes projects will start with classify and recommend. And the reason is because those are internal facing applications for the live agent that from a process perspective are very unobtrusive. the live agents get smarter. They've got the answers embedded in the ticket. Their MTTR goes down. The number of tickets per day they can resolve goes up. Everyone wins, but it's completely transparent to the end user. The end user just knows they're getting better service. So oftentimes, like in the case of this company had adopted a virtual agent. They actually started with the live agent facing features. And that's really the benefit of thinking about wrapping intelligence horizontally around the whole life cycle of a service request. Sometimes a virtual agent is appropriate on day one. Other times, things like classify and recommend are appropriate. Other times, organizations just want to start with insights. They want to learn about their data, see how AI perceives their data before making any changes that require kind of a gestation period in terms of cultural adoption. So think about things like rewarding users that make better use of the new technologies. Think about the metrics like MTTR, like autonomous call deflection. Think about customer satisfaction and actually get into a position where you can deploy something like what's here in this slide, a leaderboard, where you're actually looking across those key metrics and publicly praising employees for adoption that leads to these better experiences and better service metrics. It turns out that although the technology is phenomenal and it's world changing and it will lead to things like 90% cost reduction to deliver the service, it's equally important to think about the ways to make sure that these new services come across to the user in a way that's safe, that's comfortable, in a way that delights them. So one thing that we found to be effective is use something like a leaderboard and go out of your way to acknowledge and reward your internal employees and your live agents that do a better job adopting these technologies early on. Before we get into your questions, I want to summarize some of the feedback. You recall the first tip was systems of intelligence are really what you need. Chatbots are insufficient. I want to talk about kind of the top 10 capabilities that you should look for in a system of intelligence. Some of these examples were very, very simple because I wanted you to see operationally what some things are that a smart chatbot can do via a system of intelligence, how to automate the life cycle of machine learning models, how to use a leaderboard to improve those metrics to increase cultural adoption. But if you think about just kind of the top 10 key capabilities of a system of intelligence, here are the things that I would put on your short list. These are all things that these CXOs found to be particularly valuable in their evaluation of systems of intelligence. Be sure that your system of intelligence can automatically select the best performing algorithm. Be sure that once the best algorithm is selected, it can automatically tune the hyperparameters. You should not need a team of data scientists or researchers to manage a system of intelligence. This all has to be transparent to the admin of the system. Obviously, what I showed you with the data science workbench, you saw how this is all designed in PeopleReign for mere mortals. Automate feature selection. So the system of intelligence should know which features from the data have the highest predictive power. Obviously, continuous learning, that was actually one of the top 5 tips, is a key capability of the system of intelligence. You're not going to get that from a system of record. Make sure it can identify known unknowns. I gave you the example of where's the best pizza. Things that just are out of its domain, it needs to be able to come back with a reasonable approach. Can't answer that. I can get you to a live agent. Can't answer that. If you want to create a ticket, here's some suggestions of common things that you can do in the virtual agent. That's a more intelligent experience. Use domain ontologies. I showed you that example of embedding concepts from domain ontologies right into the context of the ticket. Hugely valuable when it comes to understanding the patterns and how requests are made. Classify across domains, so that ability to skip all the unnecessary reassignments. Use AI and machine learning to make sure, like a bullseye, that ticket's going to get targeted to the right user. Sometimes they're pool assigned. It's going to get to the right place the first time. So no kind of hours of delays while the ticket hops around until it finds the right kind of final resting place. It must be configurable. You saw in that example of the administration console, the data science workbench, the insights application. These are all very simple web apps. You don't need to read the manual to know how to use them. They're infinitely configurable. It's a platform. You can build your own applications, your own models, your own dashboards. You can share them around your company. They're all role-based. All of the decisions that the system of intelligence makes must be explainable. Core principle behind the practice of responsible AI is making sure that the system of intelligence is not a black box. You understand why the decisions were made. And then lastly, make sure that the system of intelligence is capable of spanning the life cycle of the service request. So it can do everything from converse using AI, that conversational interface I showed you, autonomously using the virtual agent, but it can also route tickets. It can also make recommendations to live agents, and it can also predict the future. Oftentimes analytics are backwards looking, but when we think about an AI first system of intelligence, it must be able to predict what's ahead to be able to suppress employee issues before they've even occurred. And that's where we talk about the value of the service owner being able to use insights to be able to look ahead, kind of look around that blind corner and anticipate the questions that aren't yet being asked. For instance, when the new iPhone is introduced, there's probably a bunch of stuff that's going to come up related to iPhones. One of the things that the system of intelligence can do is say, here are the kinds of questions that are likely to occur. Here's the kind of content that you probably want to publish before you see a spike in open issues. Now, with that said, I committed to making the last few minutes available for your questions. I see that we've got a lot coming in. Let me just check the chat panel here. I will do my best to get to all of them. I do want to get you out of here in the next couple of minutes, but I'll answer the first few that I see. So question is, so how is the system of intelligence priced? Good question. In brief, so the idea of a system of intelligence is that you should consume it based on a pricing model that is transparent. You should know exactly what you're buying. It should be aligned with value. So you shouldn't be charged for a system that that you're not making use of. So, and it should be predictable. So you should know, well in advance what you're going to be charged for. The model for at least the PeopleReign system of intelligence is that you're charged based on a bucket of recommendations that you purchase. Think of it kind of like you purchase cell phone minutes. If you don't use them, you don't pay for them. Every time you use them, because you make a call on your phone, it essentially decrements a minute or a token from this bucket. And so very easy to figure out what you'll be charged and why you'll be charged and when you'll be charged. For specific numbers, I would defer the question to Chris and to the Thirdera team. Again, partner authorized to sell and support the full line of PeopleReign products. But that's kind of the model that we use. Second question, let's see. Good question. How is PeopleReign different from the capabilities of ServiceNow? Obviously, Thirdera is a strong partner of ServiceNow. I showed you examples of PeopleReign augmenting the capabilities of ServiceNow. So unlike a system of record, a system of intelligence automates the full life cycle of the machine learning model. Obviously, it's something that you wouldn't get in ServiceNow. Those domain ontologies I showed you, that contextual understanding of the request based on kind of a structured vocabulary of 5 million concepts and concept relationships. That's that is what you get from a system of intelligence. That ability to have the conversation with the virtual agent in 27 languages, auto detect the language of the speaker, automatically translate the underlying content to the speaker's language. That's obviously something that's unique to the system of intelligence. Oftentimes, the system of intelligence, the PeopleReign system of intelligence, is used to accelerate ServiceNow customers up their maturity curve. Because if you're considering upgrading into maybe adjacent applications or capabilities of the ServiceNow platform, oftentimes the ability to understand how the platform is being used by using a system of intelligence to introspect your data means that you're going to get a lot more value out of ServiceNow a whole lot faster. So systems of record are very important. The workflow engine is very important, but what's equally important is wrapping that layer of intelligence horizontally around the system of record so that everything that's happening in the system of record is made smarter based on the capabilities of the system of intelligence. Increasingly, what you're going to see is the enterprise stack will consist of a system of collaboration, a traditional system of record, and then a system of intelligence that is automating the process of figuring out what action to take. When the action is taken, the kind of artifact associated with the action will be captured in the system of record. But all of the kind of the thought process, the ability to diagnose and resolve the issue, that will take place in the system of intelligence. The other key item I'd point out is that I mentioned at the top, this is all we do. So along with the PeopleReign experts at Thirdera, you get deep domain expertise. We've done this hundreds of times. We guarantee your success. We make sure that within 30 days of using the PeopleReign system of intelligence, you're getting value out of it. You're delivering on the promise of some of those KPIs that I talked about: lower MTTR, lower cost per ticket, lower call volume, improved customer sat. And that's a commitment that only a system of intelligence can make. Obviously, you wouldn't expect those kinds of benefits from a traditional system of record. Let's see, the last question is probably a good stopping point for us. And maybe, Chris, if I could defer this back to you. Where can we learn more? Let's see, on the screen, I have a little bit of a teaser there with a QR code, but Chris, maybe talk us through where they should go next.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Dan. And that was awesome. Every time I see that, I love the presentation. So certainly, yeah, scan the QR code or go to thirdera.com/PeopleReign demo, where you can sign up for your free AI briefing. But in general, go to PeopleReign.io, go to Thirdera.com, follow us on social, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us personally, Dan or I, and the teams over here at PeopleReign and Thirdera. Reach out. One of the things I kind of stressed today was our ability to do things strategically and provide some advisory. Take advantage of that with us. We have a number of offerings. I'd love to have one of you or many of you reach out and give me a call, and we can figure out some time to not only get your free AI briefing, but also talk a little bit more holistically and strategically about your platform and how we might be able to help you. So thank you, Dan, for that.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for sponsoring the event. So with that said, there are questions in the queue that we didn't get to. In the interest of time, I'm going to pause us here. If we didn't answer your question, I promise some combination of the Thirdera team plus the PeopleReign team will follow up with you. Thanks for your engagement. Thanks for great questions. Thanks again to Chris and the Thirdera team for co-hosting. Again, Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleReign. Really excited to have done the global unveiling of the top 5 tips for deploying IT and HR virtual agents. We're back next month with another webcast, and look forward to sharing with you the full research report. Have a great day.